The art of fragmentation, the cold logic of monarchical governance. When looking at a massive tree in the middle of a forest, most people only admire its greatness and the stability of its roots and canopy. However, through the eyes of a gardener, or more accurately, the person who holds the power to plan the forest, that ancient tree is a threat. It absorbs all the nutrients from the surrounding soil and blocks the sunlight, making it impossible for other saplings to grow. In the administrative mindset of a monarch, a powerful clan is exactly like that ancient tree. It is often misunderstood that feudal courts always encouraged models where 3 or 4 generations lived under one roof to preserve filial piety. The reality is far more brutal. Such encouragement only existed at a superficial moral level. In terms of practical governance, allowing a lineage to grow too large and concentrate too many people under one roof was an unacceptable security risk. This is the primary reason why the policy of household division, which forced the separation of family registers and broke families into smaller units, was not merely an administrative issue. It was a surgical knife used to remove potential power tumors right from their inception. We must frankly recognize the nature of a great clan in ancient society. When hundreds of people live together, work together on the same piece of land, and follow the orders of a single patriarch, it is no longer a family. It is a mini-state. The patriarch holds the power of life and death, possesses a private treasury from land yields, and has human resources in the form of healthy young men ready to take up clubs to protect the interests of the clan. The rules of the clan were sometimes even stricter and more thoroughly obeyed than the law of the king. The saying that the king's law stops at the village gate is the most accurate description of the central power's impotence before these local cohesive blocks. Once a clan became large enough, they possessed the ability to negotiate with or even exert counter-pressure on local officials. Whether a district magistrate wanted to collect taxes, conscript soldiers, or preside over a trial, he had to observe the temperament of the clan elders. This is precisely what any centralized regime fears. The mindset of a supreme ruler always operates based on the principle of risk management. A bundle of chopsticks is hard to break, but individual chopsticks can be snapped easily with just 2 fingers. The policy of forced household division was born to serve that breaking purpose. When a large family is torn into many small households, its collective strength is immediately neutralized. Previously, a single shout from the patriarch could mobilize 50 able-bodied men armed with weapons. Now, once separated, each man becomes the head of a small household, carrying the individual burden of providing food and money. They are no longer warriors of the lineage. They become weak subjects who are vulnerable to natural disasters and the authorities. The loose connection between small households cannot compare to the steel-like solidarity of a great family living together. Delving deeper into the economic mechanism reveals the cunning nature of this art of ruling. When living together, assets are concentrated, allowing the lineage to accumulate significant capital to buy more land and expand its influence. But when forced to divide the household, assets must be dispersed. Land is fragmented into small, scattered plots. Economic power is neutralized. A wealthy clan owning 1,000 acres of land can raise an army, but 100 poor households each owning 10 acres can only afford to eat. Furthermore, separation creates internal competition. Instead of pooling resources for collective development, different branches and lineages begin to compare and bicker over inheritance rights. The court only needs to stand in the middle and issue a few inheritance laws favorable to separation, and the clan will naturally develop internal conflicts. Without spending a single soldier or a single scout, that power block disintegrates from within. Look at the aspects of taxation and forced labor, which are the 2 most effective tools for eroding the strength of the people. When a large clan exists, they have enough financial potential to bribe officials, evade obligations, or send substitutes for military service. They can hide the actual population, turning living souls into unregistered residents to evade taxes. But once divided into independent households, population control becomes easier than ever. Local officials hold the list of every household head, and it is difficult for anyone to escape. The pressure of taxation weighs heavily on each individual, leaving them with no mental energy to think of resistance or grand schemes. At this point, their sole objective is survival. and to survive, they are forced to submissively obey the government. Similar to the anti-monopoly mindset in modern economics, where the state does not allow any corporation to dominate the entire market, the feudal court did not allow any force to monopolize the loyalty of the people in a specific locality. Loyalty is a finite resource. If a citizen is too loyal to the patriarch and too devoted to the great family, the portion of loyalty reserved for the king will diminish. By breaking the large family structure, the state directly competes for control over people. When separating households, citizens must directly face officials and be directly responsible before the law, instead of hiding behind the protective shadow of the clan. The intermediary relationship is cut off, and the tentacles of central power reach down into every kitchen and every bed of the commoners. Historical facts have proven that large-scale uprisings often originated from localities with large, long-standing and prestigious clans. In places where the village structure was loose, the population was diverse, and small nuclear families predominated, the ability to organize resistance was almost zero. Therefore, divide and rule was not only applied between regions or ethnic groups, but more microscopically and cruelly, within the very cell of society, the family. There were periods when the law stipulated that when a son grew up and got married, he was mandatory to move out and live separately for a certain period, or face heavy fines. Also, extremely high progressive taxes were levied on households with too many members. These were economic strikes aimed directly at the pocketbook, forcing people to choose between separating to preserve assets or maintaining the family tradition while facing impoverishment. For the most part, under the pressure of basic needs, people chose the former. It is also necessary to analyze human psychology more deeply in this chessboard. Human nature tends to desire autonomy. The policy of household division hit the psychological desire of the younger generation to escape the constraints of the previous generation. The court skillfully played the role of the protector of that freedom. When a younger son wanted to move out but was forbidden by his parents, the law of the court would side with the son. This created an invisible shift in power. The son felt grateful to the court for liberating him from the imposition of the clan, thereby shifting his loyalty from his father to the king. This was an extremely profound psychological warfare move, turning internal family conflicts into opportunities to consolidate state power. Another aspect that receives little attention is the ability to mobilize resources during wartime. A large clan could refuse to provide food or soldiers if they felt their interests were not guaranteed, and the court found it very difficult to coerce them without risking a local riot. But thousands of small individual households do not have that bargaining power. When the decree of the king is issued, each household must submit grain and men. The weak resistance of an individual is like the buzz of a mosquito. It cannot shake the giant machinery of governance. Turning society into a collection of scattered grains of sand allowed the hand of the monarch to easily mold, pour, or level them at will without encountering the boulders that were the great clans. However, this mindset also has a downside. When society is overly fragmented, community cohesion declines. It is easy to rule during peacetime, but when faced with major natural disasters or foreign invasions, the ability of the community to recover on its own is very poor due to the lack of local leadership and concentrated resources. But for a ruler who values the safety of the throne more than the long-term prosperity of the masses, the weakness of the people is a security guarantee. When the people are weak, the officials are strong. When the people are poor, they are easy to command. That is the cold logic of power. Broadly speaking, this mechanism does not stop at the family scale. It applies to all organizations, groups, and factions. Any organization showing signs of growing too fast, attracting too many members, or creating too much influence will fall into the crosshairs. Measures ranging from forced separation and instigating internal conflict to bribing key figures to split off and form new groups are all thoroughly applied. The ultimate goal is to never allow a state within a state to emerge. Power is something that cannot be shared, and any entity with the potential to become a counterweight must be neutralized or weakened to the point of harmlessness. Even in urban planning and population management, the subdivision of administrative units carries the essence of this mindset. Instead of leaving a vast area with a dense population under the authority of one local official, It is divided into many districts, counties, and wards. This helps with detailed management while preventing a local official from building his own private empire. Cross-monitoring between small administrative units, mutual supervision, and reporting over one's superior all create a restrictive network where no one is strong enough to rebel, but everyone is weak enough to have to rely on the central government. To conclude, the story of household division in history and the control of monopoly corporations today share the same essence, which is the fear held by centralized power toward the strength of the collective. A united collective, autonomous in economy and ideology, is always a potential threat to any autocratic system of rule. The lesson to be drawn here is not to blame the past or fear the present, but to understand the laws of how power operates. To survive and thrive in such an environment, one must know how to remain hidden. Flaunting prestige or an overly obvious concentration of power will only invite punishment. Instead of trying to build a rigid, cohesive block that is easily broken, modern thinking should aim for flexible connectivity. Like water, it can gather into a powerful waterfall, but can also disperse into 100,000 tiny droplets to seep through every crack without being stopped. Real strength does not lie in gathering everything into one place to become a target, but in the ability to be dispersed yet of one mind, separated but not divided. That is the ultimate art of survival before the blades of divide and rule. Understanding this, one will see that being forced to separate is sometimes not the end, but an opportunity to transform into another state of existence, which is safer and more unpredictable.